In this video, we're going to work on our mixed voice, meaning if you already established your chest voice and your head voice, now you might wonder how I can mix those, because different styles of singing have different kind of mixes between head voice and chest voice. For example, typically musical theater singing has a mix that is more chest dominant, and baroque classical music, for example, has a more head dominant mix. Opera, at least where I come from, my training was relatively even mix, like as even as you can make it between head and chest. But we're just gonna have a few exercises today to see how we can feel what it's like to have both quality, both head voice quality and chest voice quality. The quickest tip I can give you is to imitate someone, and I have someone very specific in mind for this. If you are familiar with Pride and Prejudice, the miniseries that was created by the BBC, then you know that the character of Mrs Bennet, and if you don't know her, I will link to her in the description. Totally go and watch how she talks, okay? So you have that kind of voice sometimes also when men are imitating women, or they're imitating old women, especially when they imitate old British women. Then you have that, oh my god, oh dear, oh Mr. Bennet, something like that. So you go ahead and watch how she does it and see if you can imitate that. What I love specifically, well, I love everything about her character actually, but what I most like is the way she does her pretend sob. Because you go, and that kind of crying mechanism, that's a very good mixed voice. So you have a lot of head resonance, and you have a lot of chest quality as well, and it's just mixed, and you have this maybe a bit irritating at first, but you know, if you put that in context of singing, if you put that on the notes, then that can actually give you a really nice sound. Maybe we can do an exercise with that. So with this quality in mind of the we're just gonna make that noise first, and then we're gonna put this on the notes and just say oh, yeah? You try to bring that British accent if you can. I think that will help. But in any case, just go oh, 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 oh. Do this with me. Oh, oh, oh. It's important that you really try to actually do the crying. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, oh, oh. Yes, it's very tricky at a certain point because we want to make a loud sound, because it does sound loud, and it's sort of like a you know, like a snowball. You start with doing the trick, it gets you a really loud sound, and then you try to imitate that sound. I discourage you from doing that. Just keep to that keep to that mechanism. It's actually not forced at all, and just stick to it. Don't try to imitate the sound, imitate the action, okay? Oh, 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 oh. Really make the noise. Oh, oh, oh. It's okay if it cracks. Oh, oh, oh. 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 Keep going. And one more. Something like that. You might notice if this is a new thing for you, or maybe you just woke up and you haven't warmed up yet. I actually recommend that you warm up before doing this exercise. It's a bit more advanced. But if for some reason your vocal cords are not used to doing this specific mechanism, it's not just the vocal cords, of course, it's other muscles as well. But if you're not used to that, you might experience a crack or a break in your voice, a little bit like and that's perfectly okay. The vocal cords are going to get used to it, and then it's going to smooth out. So don't stop if that happens. Only stop if you have pressure or pain or discomfort in your throat. If it's just then just ignore it. Yeah, you can go maybe a step down and work your way up again, or whatever it is. If you're on your way down, then go a step up and work your way down, and just get used to that mechanism. It'll be fine. And in fact, the cracking or the break in the voice can be very useful for getting eventually a nice mix of the chest and head. So we actually like to work a lot with like the extreme version of that, which would be a yodel, right? So if you do that on purpose, you go from very, very chest dominated sound like and then you go that's a very head dominant voice, almost exclusively head, and you just flip in between them extremely, then that's your yodel, right? And then you can go or whatever it is, right? So that's fun, and let's maybe experiment with that a little bit. So first we're just going to make the noise as usual. We're just going to go just make an ugly, speaking, boring voice. Good. And now make a heady voice. So the spooky, we worked on that on the head voice tutorial. Spooky, owly, strange, a bit dark kind of voice, yeah? Oh, and it can be on a higher pitch now. Oh, they have and it's a bit like a Tarzan sound. You can exercise that a little bit. Maybe you can already do it. So just do it. Just have fun with it. And that's your vocal cords closing tightly, and then not, and then yes, and then not. That's basically what happens. So we're going to do that on an exercise. And we're going to do a whole octave jump. The lower one is going to be very chesty. The higher one is going to be very heady. Again, if you need more establishment of those two things separately, we have a tutorial for chest quality, and we have a tutorial for head quality, the head voice, chest voice, head resonance, chest resonance, whatever you want to call them. You can go and practice those separately first, and then when you have that, you can go so I'm going from to that's my vowel. It's not really anymore. Good. Really exaggerate the quality, so make it really ugly at first. And when you do that, I want you to pay attention to what the chest voice feels like, what that feels like. Make sure, of course, that you relax the muscles in your throat. We worked on that quite a lot. So if you feel like you're pushing here, do the sighing mechanism. So relax the shoulders, relax the jaw, but still make that ugly sound. And you can start alternating between these two. This might take a bit of time to get there, but take it. Take as much time as you need. Establish the two different qualities, and then switch in between them. Start slowly at first if you need to. And so on. The next step will be when you have found what it feels like to have that closure of the vocal cords in the chest. And when you alternate between chest and head, you will feel that there is a difference. There is a difference in how it feels in your throat, not in the muscles that surround the throat, but actually inside. When you have that feeling, you can try and hold on to that closeness of the vocal cords. And then when you go to the instead of flipping completely, instead of going to that quality, you keep that that tightness, but you're adding the resonances that you felt on the head voice. Okay, it sounds a bit far-fetched, but you have to give it a try. Okay, so we're gonna do it slowly at first. First we're just gonna flip, and now we're gonna go keep the tightness. Let's try it here. And now keep the tightness. Let's try another. So it's weird because when you do that, the result is going to be completely different. The result of the high note is going to be completely different than what you did when you just did the head voice. That's to be expected. So don't be afraid or shy with that. Experiment with it. You have to experiment. You have to risk sounding weird, sounding bad sometimes, if you want to find new qualities in your voice. Okay. Keep the tightness. Good. Again, I repeat, the tightness is not around the throat. The tightness is a very, very minimal inner feeling. Good. Now keep the tightness. So practice that. Let me know how it goes. Eventually playing around with this yodeling and then keeping the chest quality, adding the head voice resonances, all of that will go quicker and quicker. So eventually you'll be able to go just and then just keep that of the beginning and go immediately to the mixed voice. That was actually better the second time I did that. So the more you feel that closing of the vocal cords when you do the chest voice, the more you can keep that, the more rich your mixed voice is going to be. So I hope this was helpful for you, and I thank you very much for watching. and enjoy singing.